I'm Connor Old, and this is Old's Oscar Countdown. And today we're going to be looking at the design categories. So if you're new to the series, what I do every single week is I break down a new Oscar category and I predict the nominations. This week we're looking at the designs, so I'm looking at production design, costume design, and makeup and hairstyling. As we sort of go, these are the later weeks of the Oscar categories. My previous videos have all been individual categories, but either I start in August to get one every single week, but that would make a lot of sense. But this way, it just makes sense to sort of group things later, so I get my final nominations. Don't be alarmed though, I will be updating my nominations as a final big video, my final Oscar predictions. That'll be my final ones that I sort of put into the world. I think I'll do it a day before the nominations, at least it'll go up a day before the nominations. This month's gonna be a fun month. Of course, still have all my Christmas things. I'm at home still. I hope you appreciate the production design or the costume of this compared to my dorm room there. So it's gonna be an interesting month because I'm gonna have my top 10 list in a couple of weeks. That should be a lot of fun. I should see most of the movies I need to see. Maybe I'll delay that a bit if I need to see that. And then the end of January as well, I'm gonna be the second annual Connors. If you remember the first annual Connors, no one did because it didn't get any views, but that was such a fun award show that I did. Super long one, sort of the Oscars. Definitely check that one out when it comes out. But I'm going to finish up the Oscar nominations categories as a normal sort of every Thursday schedule week, and then I'm going to post one big one and say my finals. Then I'm probably going to post reactions to them, maybe live reactions like I did last year. We'll see, and then we'll switch gears into predicting what I think is going to win. But that's it. We're here, so it's going to be a hell of a run. This is always a fun one for me. So let's jump into Connor's Corner. And Connor's Corner is just a thing I've been doing every single top of the video, where I talk of the movies that are rising and or falling. So a movie that I think is rising is Get Out. I think this is more and more potential to win Best Picture. People are taking this a little more seriously because if you think about this, it's been sustaining itself since February. So why can't it sustain itself till March or till this February? It checks all those boxes where it's sustaining itself. And even something like Best Picture, if it gets in for Best Picture, I think Jordan Peele could get in for director if it's a real serious threat. If he gets in for director, that's a huge sort of watch out, and then it could win Best Screenplay. I mean, even there could be a huge surprise that Daniel Kaluuya gets in for Best Actor. Things like that could be really interesting to see. You never know, though. So let's just, quickly, my falling movie is The Florida Project. That's just because I think Willem Dafoe has really sort of taken this movie, and he's probably going to be the sole nomination for this movie. I don't see a Sean Baker, possibly that Best Picture for that 9th slot, but I could see them only going with 8, or maybe that 9th goes to Mudbound or Wonder Woman even, right? You don't know for that sort of 9th slot. We'll see for PGAs when that comes up. That'll be a sort of a good telltale sign. But I think right now it didn't get the industry awards that I've been wanting it to. It's done really well with the critics, but that doesn't prove a whole lot. So Florida Project right now is a bit slipping down. Okay, production design. Let's just jump into my possible picks. My first one is Blade Runner 2049. I mean, this is where all its $200 million budget went. Just beautiful production design, so the craziness of the downtown LA to the open spaces of, where you find Dave Bautista's character, for example. The interesting sort of contrast with that. Of course, this production has actually been nominated 5 times and won before. And if you just think about, Harrison Ford's crazy, insane, Casino, that's insane set, or the Wallace Corporation, his insane statues and, the clean sort of edgy, the sort of too cleanness of the floor, really beautiful stuff. I really liked it, at least. And I think that's a definite nomination. Number 2, which was maybe my favorite production design of the year, is The Shape of Water. I recently saw this, and for being an indie movie, I was really blown away by its production design, especially something like the desks of the certain people can tell you so much about them. You have the contrast of the laboratory, which is so clean and neat and very teal, using those teal colors, in the beautifulness of the actual tank where the amphibian man stays. and the little things that are in it, in that room. And then you also have the beautiful brush design of Richard Jenkins' character, his apartment. It's poverty looked immaculate. I mean, he's got the fold-up bed and everything. He's got a sort of, it's very messy, but it's so very him. And Richard Jenkins actually said that when he stepped onto the set, he thought all movie sets were like this back in the day when he was a kid. And my next pick is Darkest Hour. This just uses the British Parliament really beautifully in terms of that nice, beautiful, I mean, high class, fancy, sort of, think of fancy British set that directly contrasts with the sort of starkness and the darkness that is going on outside the Parliament of this, you know, the grittiness of the World War II aspect of it, right? So they have that sort of story contrast that uses the British designs very well. Plus, you're also looking at the period piece, you know, just an automatic period piece sort of gets a nomination for a lot of these design awards, right? Because if it accurately nails that period, it's a definite, you know, okay, wow, you know, it's a definite, what word am I looking for? Like, just a lock for a lot of these things, because if they nail that period piece, people will be like really transformed into the world, and they'll think about these things for nominating the Oscars. And then Dunkirk, this guy's been nominated 3 times before, and really, if you don't think about this, it's not super sort of obvious right at the bat. It wasn't for me, at least, but then you start reading about things like how Christopher Nolan used 62 ships, like big massive warships at once, really practical effects. He crashed an IMAX camera. He did other crazy things, like put cardboard cutouts of men on the beach. Really just interesting things like that. I think that elevates the movie. And then my final pick here is Beauty and the Beast. I mean, this is the biggest movie of the year, made so much money, and it sort of has that musical, right, because there's a musical aspect to the sets, sort of like the Broadway almost like sets, and then of course the incredible castle design in that, and then like I said, the costumes and the sort of production, they sort of go hand in hand, so I think it's gonna get in for costumes. I also think it's gonna get in for production design, and we see, you know, things like Cinderella been nominated before, you know, this live action Disney movie get nominated before, so it's definitely a possibility for Beauty and the Beast. And then my 2 possibles are, number 1, Phantom Thread, because of the messiness of Daniel Day-Lewis's character, contrasted with the sort of cleanness of Vicky Krieps' character in terms of the sort of the beautiful dresses, and when he's in his studio, he's squaring everything up. When he's in his home, he's got the thing draped around him. He's a little more messy, a little more careless, because he's so invested in his work in that sense. And then the Post, because once again, it's a period piece, so you can just think, I mean, look at that first image, it's the sort of All the President's Men, that typical thing of, it's the 70s, so it's like all papers all over the place, and sort of desk in this huge warehouse type space, and they're all going away at their keyboards. This incredible sort of image that you think of the old school journalists. Okay, now let's transition into costume design. Okay, my first pick is Phantom Thread. I think this is a definite possibility for that win. It's a movie all about costume design. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis plays a costume designer, and just the elegance of him making the costumes. And you know, this is a category where the industry votes, at least for the nominations. So I can't see a situation where it doesn't get in. I mean, it's a movie all about costumes and costume design, and Daniel Day-Lewis plays a costume designer, and it has beautiful, you know, costumes, and deals with the people who have models for them, you know what I mean? He designs them. It's very much a costume designer's type of movie, if there is one. The next pick is Beauty and the Beast, just because, I mean, think of Emma Watson in her beautiful yellow dress that you see in the posters. That will win it all, and then the accurate representation of LeFou and Gaston and their costumes, and just that sort of the elegance that Emma Watson really brings to the character of Belle, that innocence of not only her acting, but I think the beautifulness of her dress and her costume, and sort of that elegance. I think we'll get nominated. And then Darkest Hour, this is actually the same costume designer as Beauty and the Beast, which maybe I'll change my final nominations because of that, but it is the big World War II period piece with sort of the, you know, those elegant sort of classic sort of suits, the 3-piece suits with the vest and 3 buttons, and or even double bridge suits, different types, of course. And you have Kristen Scott Thomas's character with her sort of old-timey sort of traditional dress that she has on. And this is definitely a role where a lot of times the most production design will get nominated, or the most costumes will get nominated. This is definitely a scenario where the most of it, I think, will get in. Another most is definitely my 2 possibles, which is The Greatest Showman and Victoria and Abdul. I didn't pick these 2 movies just because they don't have the support in terms of movie-wise that I want to. The Greatest Showman had reviews are coming out. They're not that good, but it's definitely these loud and colorful costumes for the sort of circus. You have, the bearded lady, and then you have the midget, and the sort of the different types of the interesting characters with their interesting costumes. Definitely could get into different possibility. And Victoria and Abdul, which we could be underestimating. Judi Dench should get a SAG nomination and a Golden Globe nomination, so she's not definitely out of the race in terms of actress. But right now, I think that that Victoria and Abdul is just not that strong enough of a movie. That being said, it does have beautiful costumes of Victoria's sort of incredible traditional British garments, and then Abdul, who I'm not entirely sure where he's from. I think he's Indian, but of course he has a turban on, and he has a sort of really beautiful suit that's blue and red and really sharp. I think just that image could get them nominated. So that's like the thing is costume design. It's not like makeup and hairstyling. It actually has 5 picks. So those are my 5 picks, and then my next possibles are The Shape of Water and The Beguiled. So these are my possibles: Shape of Water, Beguiled. I just want to make that clear. And then so the Shape of Water is that period piece. Of course, you have the interesting costumes of Richard Jenkins' character, of sort of the soft suit that he wears, and then the Shape of Water, then Octavia Spencer and Sally Hawkins and their uniforms that they wear. I don't think this is incredibly well done costume design, but I think people love this movie from a technical level so much that they'll check it off in every single category, similar to like a Mad Max. But right now, I don't think the costume design is all that fantastic for this movie. I wouldn't nominate it, but hey, someone likes it. And then of course you have The Beguiled. I just don't think this is a big Oscar movie. It has no steam, but it could get in. Maybe from the Writers Guild Award, gets a nomination for adapted screenplay, could get it on that side, and maybe get it on this side. But I mean, The Beguiled is all about this costumes. This entire house almost, Elle Fanning and Nicole Kidman and all these beautiful women in these sort of traditional sort of very clean white dresses, and Sofia Coppola shoots it beautifully, so the costumes are very much a part of this period piece. So if The Beguiled has any sort of steam, it can get in here too. So now let's transition into makeup and hairstyling. This one's only 3 picks. Sorry, I thought costume design was only 3 picks, but costume design's 5 picks. Makeup and hairstyling is 3. My 3 are, Darkest Hour. This is done by, Gary Oldman is talking about on The Tonight Show how incredible the makeup is, and how that's the main center of this point. And on The Tonight Show, we went about talking about how he's found this artist. Let me find his name here. Unfortunately, I didn't write it down, but he searched for him, and he essentially said that he wouldn't do it unless the makeup guy was on board. That's how much see how serious Gary Oldman was with making sure the makeup was right. And you could tell in the movie, it's incredible. You don't even realize that it's Gary Oldman. He has it's incredible makeup, and it is the Gary Oldman show, and the makeup is the star of the movie. So I'd be really surprised if it doesn't get makeup or doesn't win makeup in a sort of odd year. But makeup and hairstyling, Suicide Squad won last year. That's an odd choice in a category. But the next pick is definitely The Shape of Water. The amphibian creature was almost all makeup, very little CGI sort of for the eyes and sort of how he moves and stuff. But on set, he was there. He was a physical sort of breathing person, where Doug Jones was in this sort of costume, and he moved and all that stuff. And it's just a really beautifully done thing. And we've seen things like The Revenant for visual effects get in just because of that bear scene, right? It's so incredible. And this is definitely the makeup of the amphibian creature that's a standout. And like I said, The Shape of Water is a big fan. The technical people are a big fan of this movie, so they're going to nominate a lot of those. Just get every nomination, which I think is why it's definitely a possibility right now for Best Director and for Best Picture. Don't count The Shape of Water. It's definitely moved up in my seeing of it, especially after I saw the movie. That always helps. And then my final pick for makeup and hairstyling is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is definitely a situation where I think the most makeup, think of all the characters that have makeup. You're looking at Nebula, you're looking at Gamora, you're looking at Yondu. So many characters with amazing makeup. It takes so much time. Drax, of course. Mantis. There's so many people in this sort of incredible, huge space age thing. This is a sequel to the first Guardians, which I think got nominated for makeup, and I think it's definitely a situation where the most makeup will definitely get nominated here, but my two possibles are Beauty and the Beast. I actually thought the makeup was horrible in this movie, so I just left it off the list for personal reasons. I mean, I couldn't even put it on there. Maybe it'll screw me over like I did Suicide Squad, but I'll take the yellow. Beauty and the Beast makeup was terrible. And then Wonder sort of been like this late surprise. If it possibly gets in for adapted screenplay, like The Beguiled, this could get in for makeup and hairstyling because of the makeup done to Jacob Tremblay's character, Augie, is really incredible because he has that certain condition where he has sort of face disformation in a sense, and what they use it sort of sparingly because he does have that sort of helmet on for a lot of the movie, but when he does take it off, especially on that beautiful first day of school scene, he has that interesting makeup, and they do it, and it makes believable, and they stick to it. And it's not just a couple scenes that he has it off, right? He has it off for a good majority of the movie, not the entire thing, but it's definitely visible. And I think they do a great job, especially for a kid, and it's a heartbreaking. It can add to that movie. So if they remember Wonder, if they watch Wonder, it could get in as well. So anyways, guys, yep, that's the end of my video. Hope you liked it. Comment below, let me know some of your picks for design categories. Are you excited for some of my other videos? Let me know. I'd love to see sort of the excitement there. And comment below, I'd love to respond. It creates this great sort of film community. That's the goal of these videos in the long run anyways. So anyways, guys, I'm Connor Old, and until next time, stay tuned.